And let's start with something very familiar, moving our foundational energy from side to side. So I often talk about this being a foundational energy balancer, but it's also a pelvis balancer. And of course, you can lift your heels up, lead from the navel as you turn, and it's also inviting your left and your right brain hemispheres to communicate with one another. So it's a coordination exercise as well. If you want to gear it up and you feel that you need to, you can increase the sway. And as the hands go up to the shoulders, it comes into something called Yantra Yoga, which is Tibetan yoga. And Yantra Yoga is the medicine side of Tibetan yoga. I dip in and out of various yoga traditions. It's all traditional. But this happens to be Tibetan, but you find this movement in most Eastern practices, I would possibly say, or variations of that. So then just come to slow your movement down. And we're going to start, as you come to stillness and standing, perhaps come with your feet hip width apart, to the first of 3 immune boosters I want to do today. So they are specifically against something we don't want to mention. It clears the upper, mid and lower lungs. So this is on the upper lung clearance. Join in with me when you feel that you're able to. Classically in yoga, you breathe in and out of your nose. You are invited, if you particularly want to, go through your mouth, particularly those at home where there's nobody around. And you're breathing in and out to the same breath length, so you almost sniff the air in and breathe it out. The breathing out activates part of the core, which we'll come into on the third exercise a little bit more. So just join me when you're ready. So I'm breathing in. And last one, hold the breath, breathing out. And then side to side, but swinging your arms high. So that's upper lung clearance. If you want to get rid of anything, then that is just very good to do that. The clearing of the arms is as important as the original exercise itself. It clears everything within your system. And then just swing your arms to and fro. And then we're going to just do a gentle warm up and come to exercise 2 of the lungs. Breathing in, raise your arms up. Clasp your hands, reverse your palms. And then breathing out, go to the side. You can pulse if you want to. Breathing into the center, engage your core. And then breathing out to the other side. Breathing into the centre, just turn a little bit, as little or as much as you would like. Come to the centre and then turn to the other side, as little or as much as you would like. Come to the centre. Press your feet down, raise your hands up, and if that's good for your neck, look up. Becomes a back bend, which is lifting and uplifting for the mood. Very appropriate on a day like today. Bring your head back to centre. And then raise, let your arms come out. And then place your arms on your waist. Breathing out, turn your head to look beyond one shoulder. Breathe in, come to the centre. And breathing out, turn and look beyond the other shoulder. Come to the centre. Step your feet maybe hip width apart and bend your knees and feel your abdominal muscles slightly engage. Bring your bottom away from your feet and bend your knees as little or as much as you would like to. You can look down The full pose is to raise your arms up, which I find quite hard on my lower back, so I'm going to keep my hands on my waist. Press your feet down as you come to standing. Lift and roll your shoulders and clasp your hands behind you, aiming the knuckles towards the ground. And you'll notice that this opens your shoulders and it opens your lung meridians. Breathing out, just lift your hands slightly away from you, turn to the left, come back to the centre, and breathing out, turn to the right. And then come to the centre. The next part is optional, you don't have to do this. Just bend your knees, lift your hands, but make sure you lift, before you lift your hands, your head is down. Press your feet into the ground to come up. And then just release your hands and lift and roll your shoulders. And then either clasping your wrists or your elbows, or if you can manage to do reverse prayer, you're activating meridians on the little finger side, but this is more harder to do. Choose whichever you want to do, and breathing out, turn to the left. Breathing in, come to the centre, and breathing out, turn to the right. Come to the centre, and again, this is entirely optional. You might want to step your feet out a little bit, bend your knees as you roll down, and just try and let your elbows open like wings. That's quite tricky to keep your hands together and open your hands, but that's the aim. But just go with what's comfortable as you breathe in and come back up to the centre. Lower your hands, lift and roll your shoulders, and then breathing in, raise your hands up. Stretch your thumbs towards you and your little fingers away, so you stretch your fingers totally. And breathing out, lower your hands. Just circling your wrists as you raise your arms up, stretch your fingers out. And then breathing out, circle your hands down. And for anyone who's working a lot and doing close work, open your fingers and just curl them in, flip them open. Very good to clear tense, taut fingers, anti-arthritis, and release. So we come to the second exercise, the lung exercise. So this is the midsection. Again, the midsection focuses on the intercostal muscles, and you'll notice that children particularly, or anyone with cystic fibrosis, the carers will just tap on the lungs and it relaxes and releases the intercostal muscles, so it releases, really gives them more lung capacity, and obviously we're exactly the same. So when your elbows come in, you can allow your elbows to touch touch your ribs. Make loose fists. I like to have my thumbs in, but whatever suits you, and place them under your arms. Now, this placement under the arms you can move to suit you. And join me again in this breathing in and out. Through the nose is classic yoga. You can perhaps hear in and out through the nose might be better, but at home you might want to breathe out through your mouth as well. And breathing, just the breath is equal in and out. So join me when you're ready. Last one, very odd exercise. Just release your hands and shake them. Lift shoulders to upwards and just drop them. Lift and drop, and lift and drop. And then try lifting one shoulder and dropping and the other one, and seeing which you prefer, the two variations. And then lift and drop. And again, just a couple of movements from side to side. You can lift your heel to get a greater turn or not. It's entirely up to you. And then just swing your hands to and fro. So breathing in, lift and roll your shoulders. Arms up, clasp and reverse. Press your feet down, palms up. Breathing out, just pulse to one side. Breathing in, come to the centre, and breathing out, pulse to the other side. Breathing in, come to the centre. Breathing out, pulse to the left. Doesn't matter if you've gone the other way. Come to the centre, and breathing out, pulse to the right. Come to the centre, step your feet slightly apart, and begin to lower your hands. And depending on your knee capacity, you can bend your knees a little bit, not at all, a little bit, or really come down. Your hands, palms down to the floor. Once you've got to where you're comfortable, breathe out and turn to over the left foot with your hands so that you're stretching your right side. Come back to the centre and breathing out, turn to the right so you stretch your left side. Come to the centre. Now you can hold your calves and bend a bit more or not, depending on your capacity. For those of you who are ubers flexible, you can come and squat. It's not mandatory, but everyone's doing incredibly well, so well done. And then hands down to assist you to come up, still in a forward bend. Straighten your feet. Just once more, clasp your calves, bend in as if you're almost like skiing. And then press your feet down. Let your hands come to the front and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Just set your pose here by bringing your hands under your navel. So in yoga that's the hara, and in Eastern terminology, I believe it's called dantian. And just focus on your core. And so this next exercise is terribly gentle, but it happens to move every joint in the body. So you're flying, so you are bending your knees. And if you think about it, you're bending and putting weight through your ankles, your knees, your hips, your muscles, or the ribs are moving. Everything's moving up, your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, even your fingers if you open out. You're coordinating your movement with your breath, so it becomes a mindfulness exercise and a breathwork exercise. If your shoulders are stiff, or you're finding your hands out too much, then just shorten your wingspan, so to speak, by bending your elbows. And then just bring your hands once more back towards the dantian. And then breathing in, raise your hands. This is symbolic, but it's also actively clearing the magnetic field, breathing out, lowering your hands back down alongside you. So if you're somebody who gets quite sensitive in a very crowded environment with lots of artificial lights, I know crowds aren't a thing at the moment, but this actively just disconnects you, literally physically, your auric field, your magnetic field, from the outside world. And then breathing out, lowering your hands. And then just finishing by placing your hands on your waist. This opens out not just the lung capacity, but under your arms you've got your lymphatic system, so you've got part of your immune system. So this just allows you to connect into your upper limb. If you want to sway from side to side because you don't enjoy standing still, that's absolutely fine, just do that. People who are terribly ill in the healing process they just have people half sitting with lots of support, hands on either the waist or the abdomen, and then their feet are equally just slightly out, supported under the knees to get to the lower lymph. And they'll keep people like that in the Eastern healing for cancer for ages, just relaxing and breathing. And then just release your hands down. And we come to the third exercise, so we're doing the complete lung protection and rejuvenation. This forms part of the Kerala Warrior warm-up process in fighting the enemy. And I know you're into your arts thing, but this is a Kerala Warrior. And it very much looks at strengthening the core, but it's a natural strengthener. And centuries ago, the enemy wasn't just the enemy was disease. So this, again, is naturally very strengthening, works on the lower part. So it's detoxifying also your not just your lungs, but you're toning up your whole lower abdominal system. So I'll start and then just turn to the side. Join in with me when you want to. So I'm breathing in. And last one, and release. Just lift and roll your shoulders, and again, just wind down from that. So if you were particularly interested in strengthening that, you would do that each exercise about 25 times minimum. We've just really done a taster of that, but it really, if you just do one exercise, you boost and strengthen your entire immune system. We've done 3. So that is a complete overall inner strengthener against any kind of viral thing that comes into the lungs. And if you forget it, it's on my website, it's free. I think it's on the front page. It's called Super Immune Boosters, and this is featured. So then just bring your hands up and down. And then this is another of the Kerala Warrior exercises. There are lots of them, but we're just going to do a very, very gentle one. Hands on the waist, and you're just going to bounce your heels. So that, if you think, what on earth is that? It's a vibration that you're sending up from your soles of your feet, heels up to the top of the head. And the vibration is anti-stagnation, so it's keeping your energy moving. Now, then, for those of you at home, we're not going to do this, and I know that some of us aren't keen on that. But you can increase the vibration by doing this. But as I said, I'm just going to show you. I'm not necessarily asking you to do it. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But I quite get. I can see someone looking in absolute horror there. And if you want to really increase it, you go round in a circle. And then just leave it. And again, just slow your energy down by going from side to side. The moving round in the circle, if you think that's completely mad, slightly disengages you from your focus. And when you're disengaged from your focus, it breaks the pattern of connection with everyday life. So it just becomes a kind of distraction. And then just hands up and down. Lift and roll your shoulders. Come to seated. However that works for you. I'm going to come cross-legged. We're just going to sit for a moment to let the energy settle. Resting your hands on your knees, either just as they are. If you want to be very yogic about it, you can bring your thumb and second finger together, either down, that's gesture of knowledge, or up to receive, gesture of consciousness. whatever works for you. Breathing in, turn your head to the left. Breathing out, turn your head to the right. Turn as little or as much as your neck feels capable or suits you. Left, breathing in, breathing out to the right. Breathing in to the left. Breathing out to the right. Breathing into the left. You're asking the left and the right brains to communicate with one another. So it's like refreshing your creative brain. And then you're also, as a hormonal balancer, beginning to work on the thyroid and the parathyroid. And they're part of your metabolic control. So it's part of a hormonal balancer. Your thyroid gland connects to your adrenals insofar as if you've got exhausted adrenals, so exhausted with stress, too much stress, that can impact your thyroid function to the point in some people where autoimmune conditions can, they're obviously a pre-existing condition, but they can start to develop. This is very helpful for that. Again, it becomes also a breathwork exercise, and you're just letting the body recover from the movement that you've made. And then come back to the centre. Come to kneel high. Are you all right to kneel high? If not, just leave and just sit and do that a couple of times. So we're going to kneel high. I understand also that there are knee issues around, so I hope this works for you, but if not, just sit and do a pelvic cat-cow. But kneeling high, knees apart. So I'm just going to show you a couple of times. So breathing in, raising your arms up, breathing out, rounding your back, slide your elbows down bottom in the air, and then sliding up again. And I'm going to show you, just do that a couple of times. Breathing out, chin to chest, coming onto your, slide your hands away and then onto elbows. And then if you're not great with kneeling up, then come to whatever you'd like to. If you want to come forward, that's good, but just sitting up and coming down, coming forward if you want to, just walking to the side. Just a couple of movements, sitting down if you want to do that. And then finish what you're doing and come to lying on your back. And palms are down, shoulders away from the ears, and I'm just going to invite you to focus on your ankles by rolling your ankles in one direction, and then rolling your ankles in the other direction. You're just waking up your feet now in the same way that we woke up our hands. Stretch your toes out and just relax them. If you scrunch your toes in, which you're very welcome to do, you do risk cramp. So open your toes out and then just relax them, or you can scrunch them, but not to give yourself a cramp. And then just slide up your right foot and just aim your foot somewhere along your leg. It's like a lying tree, but because we're not putting weight on the leg, it doesn't matter particularly here if you put wherever your foot goes. So you're opening here the inner right groin. And if you remember, I said that opening under the arms connects into the lymph system, gives that space. So opening up here in the inner groin. Lying tree is a softer version than Baddha Konasana when you do both together. It's particularly good for men because of that area. So you can always have support under your leg as well. Just take your hand now to support your right leg, to bring it upwards and slide your right foot away from you. Extend your right heel and your toes go up to the ceiling, and then relax your right leg and slide your left leg up and open your left leg out to the side. Remembering at home you can always take support under your thigh. And again you'll feel the left inner groin open, which is where you've got a proliferation of lymph nodes. My understanding is that lymph doesn't move itself. It's one of those things that you need to move and create space for. So it's a great booster for your health, this simple lying pose. And again, if you were at home, you might want to spend a little bit longer here, but you'll find that if you're not used to opening your thigh, it can just be quite tight. So always having a support underneath the thigh is quite helpful to lift the leg up so that the opening's not quite straight, or you can stay there for longer. Just place your left hand underneath your left thigh to support it, to bring it up. And then bend one knee and bend the other knee. Feet hip width apart. You can place your hands palms down alongside you or on your abdomen with your elbows out. And just sway your knees gently from side to side. So this simple exercise is just massaging across your lower back. You can bring your knees right down to the ground or a little bit down to the ground. If your hips can lift off the ground as well. It's whatever works for you. So again, you're activating the lower part of your body, especially if we're sitting, particularly a lot at the moment, and particularly this time of year. It's quite nice to really bring blood to the system, but in a very safe way, because your back's supported really by the ground, and you only lift your hips as little or as much as you might want to. And then hug one knee into the chest and then the other. So both knees are hugged into the chest. And again, just try and rock from side to side. And you'll find that you're massaging still across your lower back, but it's slightly higher up. You can almost rock over so that your elbow is just supporting you to rock back and over to the other side. Again, it's a trial for you to work out what feels nice for you. You're also rocking across the back of the head. And exactly where you're rocking on the head, you've got some acupressure points there. I think we tend to forget about our heads. There are lots of little points, little dents all over the skull, and they all connect into various functions. So off the top of my head, and I'm sure someone's going to tell me I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling that there are 4 points on the back of the head, and we're on 2 of them as we go from side to side. I've got a feeling possibly it connects into the gallbladder meridian, but I could be totally wrong there. But anyway, it connects into a energy meridian. And then bringing yourself to the centre, just making sure that your back of your neck is long. And as you next breathe in, raise the soles of your feet to the ceiling so that your legs form a little V, your knees can be bent, and raise your hands up and behind you. How far you bring your hands back, they can go right to the floor, they can stretch a little bit, or not. Breathing out, bring your hands back to hugging your knees into your chest. Breathing in, stretch your legs up and hands go behind you, stretch as little as much as you would like. You can extend your heels or not, depends how much you want to stretch your legs out, hugging your knees into your chest. And again, breathing in, soles of the feet up to the ceiling, stretching. Breathing out, then make your movement. Finish your movement and then finish your breath. Don't worry if you don't get that, it's something you tend to do naturally. You start breathing, then you make your movement. And then as you breathe out, and then start to make your movement. It just gives an extra, well, it's a very natural thing, but it's just one of those little yogic things about breath control. And then breathing out, hugging your knees into your chest. And just once more, rock from side to side. You can hug your knees in. And now hug your knees in, still holding them, and then let them, you're still holding your knees, travel away from you. So you're rocking slightly up and down your lower spine. Hug your knees into the chest as you breathe out. And as you breathe in, just let your knees travel away from you. Hug your knees into the chest. And as you breathe out, let your knees travel away. And hugging your knees into your chest, let your knees travel away. And then supporting your legs underneath your thighs, place one foot and then the other foot down onto the ground. So your feet are on the ground, they're hip width apart, your knees are up to the ceiling. Just adjust yourself a little bit by wriggling if you need to just make any adjustment. And we're going to start here with palms down, a very gentle pelvic tilt. So flattening your back as if you're going to lift your bottom off the ground and then just releasing so that there's a little gap underneath your back. Flattening your back as if you're going to lift your bottom and then just releasing. And a couple of more times in your own timing. Now palms down, as you flatten this time, actually engage everything, your perineum, your tummy, your lower abdomen is in towards your spine, and lift your bottom little bit by little bit, chin in, and then raise your arms. You can bend at the elbows and stretch your arms out. You raise yourself as little or as much as you would like. Breathing out, lower your bottom and your arms back down to the ground. When you're back safely onto the ground, hug your knees into your chest. Extend the soles of the feet to the ceiling and bring your palms together through your V. And you'll feel that you automatically engage your lower abdominal muscles. You can stay like this, or you can bring one hand behind your head and neck to support your head and neck, to breathe out and lift your head and neck up. And place your head and neck back down on the ground. And then one final modification is hands together. If your neck's strong enough, you can lift up your head without support, but it always takes support with the hand onto the head if you need to. Head goes back down onto the ground. Hug your knees into your chest. Just rock from side to side just to ease out anything, and then just supporting your legs as you bring your feet back down onto the ground. Palms down. Flatten your back, press down with your feet. As you lift up, make sure your knees are not splaying out, but you feel that you've got someone holding your legs so that they're straight ahead, and then raising your arms up, chin tucks into your chest. That activates the vagus nerve, so it's anti-inflammation. And then breathing out, lower your back down to the ground. And then hug your knees into the chest. Soles of the feet go to the ceiling. Hands go through palm to palm, through the V. And then optionally, you can lift your head. I'm going to take support with my hand onto my head to lift up, but if you're very strong in your core, then just lift straight up. Bring your head back down to the ground. Bend both knees. Rock gently from side to side. And then we come back to our lymph again, lower lymph. Slide your hands down your shins. Your hands or your wrists going generally inside. And then just hold with your shins or your ankles. Your big toes are vaguely together, and you're just doing a lying Baddha Konasana. So that's bad angle pose. You could just slightly rock from side to side if you want to, or stay still. So it's dynamic or static. And again, you're just paying a nod to the lower lymph system, boosting your energetic pathways in another way. So this, although we're re-energizing for the autumn and it's the Halloween season, we're also underlying a massive immune booster class as well, immune booster focus. And then you can stay like this, but if those of you are keen to go a step farther and you're able to walk your hands down to your big toes, if that's not possible, then stay where you are, and then begin to open your legs up. Again, if that's not possible, hold on your shins or your wherever on your leg. You don't have to hold your big toes. And stretch your legs out in a V, and then just rock from side to side. So we come into a gentle inversion. As I said, please do hold your shins wherever, your calves, wherever, if you don't stretch. I often think that people holding their big toes is nothing more than just your arm length. It's nothing special. I just happen to have got long arms, so it's very easy for me. But and as I said, there's no special fitness or stretch, it's just my arms are long. So I find it very easy, but if you haven't got long arms, then you might not. So just wherever, and just rock from side to side. So turning upside down balances your entire endocrine or hormonal system, so it's a hormonal balance. And particularly women of a certain age, it's a very useful thing to remember, but for anybody, men as well as women, our hormonal system needs to be balanced, and it can get thrown out of sync, particularly at times of season change, but obviously now is another very stressful time generally for most people, lots of change and adaptation anyway. So just rocking from side to side. And then bend your knees once more into your chest. Hug your knees and just rock again from side to side. And then just place the support holding under your thighs, one foot and then the other foot back down onto the ground. Hands can be on your abdomen or resting on your floor, and just again rocking from side to side as we bring the movement very slowly back down. This time you can optionally involve your head, so as your knees go in one direction, your head can turn away from your knees. Head and knees come back to the centre, and then as you turn your knees the other direction, the head can turn. So you are rebalancing your spine here, your lower and upper spine. And the ground supporting you is, again, excellent for just making sure there's very little risk of any damage here. People who have really had back wipeouts, there are two exercises that tend to be introduced in mainstream, like osteopath type physio exercises. One of them is the pelvic tilt, and the other one is just exploring the rotational movement, and this is exactly that. So it's a very safe rotational movement exploration, where the ground or mat is holding you. And then come to the centre. Hug your knees into the chest one last time. And take your time to either roll to the side or come up to a seated position. Taking your time so that you don't disturb any of that relaxation that you might have acquired by de-stressing all your tense muscles maybe. But come to time to come to a seated position. Hands once more on the knees. Breathing in, however you want to breathe your hands, Dhyana Mudra, up or down, or just hands on the knees. Breathing in to the left, breathing out, turn to the right a couple of times. Breathing in to the left, breathing out to the right. Breathing in to the left, and breathing out to the right. One more time, breathing into the left, and breathing out to the right. Come to the centre, turn your palms upwards, resting them on the backs of your knees. And this is a left-right brain coordination, so you don't have to say anything, but you can if you want to. And Sa, Ta, Na, Ma is a circle of life. So Sa is birth, Ta is life, Na, Na is death, and Ma is rebirth. But when you touch your thumb to your second finger, third finger, fourth finger, and little finger, it's a coordination It's asking the left and the right brain hemispheres to coordinate. It also opens your creativity channels as well. So you'll go back to your desks rejuvenated. So either just listen or you can join in by all means. So it's sa, ta, na, ma. 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 And last one, sa, ta, na, ma. Just breathe in and out. And we're going to do the same sa, ta, na, ma with our heads. But I do stress, move your head very gently. Your chin only goes up a tiny amount. I don't want you throwing your head back. And again, it's optional how much you move. But this is a total metabolic rebalance. So I've mentioned left to right as thyroid and parathyroid, up and down splenic and pituitary. So that the total movement is a total metabolic rebalance. We're only going to do a nod to this, but if you were at home, you would do it 50 times. So, sa up, ta down, na to the left, ma to the right. Sa, ta, na, ma. 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 Last one, sa, ta, na, ma. Just let that settle into your body and imagine, choose a favourite colour today that resonates with you, and imagine wrapping yourself in that favourite colour so that you become like an auric egg. Only positive things can come in, nothing negative. Everything negative can go out. But you're cocooned in your auric egg, offering you protection for the day and week ahead. And then optionally, you can have what they call a sankalpa, so you can have a wish for the day. So thinking for yourself or for somebody close to you, wishing them well, wishing yourself a happy day or whatever. The wish is generally always very simple with a sankalpa. And just think of it a couple of times to set your intention for the day. So with your intention set for the day, your sankalpa is set. And with your protection on for the day and week ahead, with your auric wrap of colour around you, your auric egg. Finally, take a bow for yourself by bringing your chin to your chest, bringing your hands to your chest, and have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me.